Good morning, everyone. It's 9:30. We have a quorum of the board present online. There are no board members here in the boardroom. So with the permission of the board, I'll kind of manage the flow of the presentations such as they are. We're not expecting any action items, even though there is a quorum. We'll begin with the legislative update from Jacob.
Okay, good morning. For the record, Jacob White, staff to the board. We're at that time of session where it's a short list we have to go through today. We'll start with Senate Bill 6197, which is technically titled Concerning Left Plan 2, but we've been referring to as the Left 2 Omnibus Bill. Just as a reminder, the decision was made to take 4 of the policy topics that the board had endorsed and combine those into one bill to assist with hopefully passing that bill. The decision was made in the House to go ahead and take the other bill regarding the board having salary setting authority, which was Senate Bill 6198, and to that bill will not move forward, and instead that has been added to 6197. And so that amendment just happened, feels like a week ago, but it was just earlier this week, a couple days ago, in House Appropriations. So that was amended into 6197 and then passed out of House Appropriations. And now that bill is in House Rules. And I should add, there was a change made in 6198 that allowed the board to set the salaries for all of the Left 2 board's staff positions. And now that is limited only to the 2 policy positions and the deputy director. So if there's any questions about that. And I should add that the cutoff is coming quick. So the next cutoff is on Friday, and that is will be for this bill to make it out of the House, off the House floor. Doesn't look like there's any questions on the board bills. There was one other bill that we've been tracking that is still alive, and that is a bill from last session concerning flexible work policies for law enforcement officers. And so the reason we're tracking this bill is mostly it doesn't have to do with Left 2, but there is one section of it which amends Left 2 to allow for part-time law enforcement officers to be eligible. It's always been full-time, fully compensated, and so it makes that change to allow for part-time officers to be eligible. And so that bill has also been passed out of House Appropriations and is in House Rules right now. And so that's all for session. Like I said, the next cutoff is on Friday by 5 o'clock for bill. And there's Jason. Go ahead.
Yeah, morning, sir. Hey, just a quick question on that part-time bill. Would that have any effect? I don't think we've discussed that, or maybe we did, and I don't remember. But we've never had part-time.
Jason, we're trying to get your audio straightened out. Can you try again?
Test.
Here we go.
Here we are.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacob. Just a question on the part-time bill. Have we done any studies on part-time or anything like that? I know I've read some things about there wouldn't be impact, but we've never had part-time anybody in Left 2, and I just don't recall. Have we done that?
With respect to law enforcement, no. There's been a lot of study work in the past regarding part-time firefighters, because a lot of the volunteer firefighters actually get paid for some hours. It doesn't seem to be the same with volunteer law enforcement officers. There seem to be fewer of those, and not hearing the same issues about them being paid. So no, Jason, there's not really any hard data on how many members this will add to LEF.
Gotcha. And if the bill was to pass, does DRS have a path forward on adding part-time people? Like, I guess, does it already exist, like, because for fire?
Well, part-time fire are in PERS. And so that was sort of the deal that was worked out years ago about some of these part-time firefighters, since they weren't eligible for LEF. If they worked enough hours to be eligible for PERS, they'd be in that. And if they didn't, then they'd be in volunteer. There's
Gotcha.
never been,
Okay.
yeah. Now,
So nothing in LEF. Okay.
No, not for law enforcement officers. We don't have that same kind of dynamic. But my guess is that would be, if there are, quote, volunteer law enforcement officers out there that are getting paid, now that'll be one of the questions is they'll be eligible for LEF. They'll get partial service credit, but they would still be eligible.
And Daryl has raised his hand.
I just have a question in regards to part-time. Is there, and I guess I didn't see it anywhere, is there anything from CJTC with a definition of what part-time is? I know there's reserve status, but what exactly is the criteria from CJTC for the certification purposes to meet part-time?
Daryl, that's a good question. So we've been tracking the part-time stuff for pension. The part-time stuff for certification is kind of outside of our area of expertise. And so we've been staying, we haven't been getting involved in that portion of the bill.
And Daryl, I'll follow up with you after this. I'll review the legislation and follow up with you.
Okay. My only reason for asking that, and I understand, staying in our lane with the retirement portion of it, but there's some very specific rules when it comes to the certification level and what is required. So what I'm curious is how that meshes with police officer and the LEF system. That's my only concern or question, I guess.
The way part-time service credit works, just so you'll know, is if you work 90 or more hours, you still get a full month of service credit. If you work any hours short of 90, you get part of a month of service credit, a quarter, and that's it as far as the service credit piece.
Okay, I appreciate that.
A follow-up question for Jacob, and has DRS reached out to us, or has there been any discussion on what, like, is this where we pass the law and then we figure it out later on, like, how they would add part-time people or anything like that?
I would say there's been some discussion because I did a presentation on this bill last year to the board, and DRS has done a fiscal note. And so there's been, some level of discussion, but not a detailed discussion at this point. And as far as like we talked about the service credit issue, and their system already allows for part-time service credit in LEF 2, even though it doesn't allow for part-time positions. So it's not a big cost or anything for DRS. But yeah, we continue to work with them on it if this bill does pass, and could report back to the board.
The
Gotcha.
first decision about reporting, Jason, will belong to the employer, not DRS. So the employer will be looking at who they have that they're not reporting now, or that they hire that they might not normally have reported, these part-timers, and reporting them to DRS. But the DRS systems, I think, are already set up for it.
Great. Thank you.
Pat?
Yeah, Jacob, on a different bill, I think it would be, I think they got the wrong bill number. I think it's a Senate bill, 5925, has to do with fire commissioners and additional meetings. Do you know anything about that one?
I do not, sorry.
So,
Any-
okay, if you could check on to see where it's at. Steve, do you know anything about it?
No, I was trying to follow that one and I lost track of it, Pat, and all the craziness this week. Jacob and I'll take a look and see where that bill's at and let you know.
Okay, thanks. It's not a push, but it's by being here for the commissioners, they've asked me to try and circle back with you guys also to see if there's where it's at. So
I believe it passed out of committee and it's in rules. Is that correct? Oh,
could be.
there you go. Passed out of the House floor yesterday, Pat.
Okay. I appreciate that, you guys. I'll let some other people know.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that's all for legislation. I'll hand it back to Steve for the administrative update.
All right. Over the past, since the last time we met, both WACOPS and the State Council of Firefighters had their legislative conferences. We had board staff at both conferences to make presentations about the board bill and answer questions. And then there were a couple of issues that were suggested for possible topics for the board this interim. I'll get into that a little bit later. The other thing, though, that I wanted to mention is NCPERS, the National Conference on Public Employee Retirement Systems. They are having their annual conference in Seattle this year. It's May 20th through the 22nd. So as far as trustee education goes, if there are board members who are interested in education, but the travel commitment has been challenging, please reach out to the team here on about NCPERS. It's a good group. It's they're approved, so your attendance at the conference is automatically going to be approved. Just let us know if that works for you so we can start getting going on the getting you registered and hotel reservations. That being said, the next meeting of the board is March 27th. Now, session will be over, so our intent is to kind of do the first meeting of the interim type of schedule, where we would have a session review, everything that passed during session, and a bit of an interim preview. There wouldn't be any action items, but it's just giving you guys an idea of some of the stuff that's out there so that you can start that process beginning in April of setting your interim agenda. With that being said, yeah, the last day of session is March 7th. And so things are wrapping up quickly. It's been a short session. It's been a sprint from day one. And it looks like it's going to be a sprint to the end. Jacob will keep you updated on the all our eggs are in one basket now. So all 5 of the bills that you approved are now all included in 6197. That's the bill that's moving forward. It needs to be voted off the floor of the House, and then the Senate needs to concur with it before it could be sent to the governor. Jacob will keep you apprised of all of that and when it happens, instead of kind of waiting till Friday ledge updates. So look for that news, and then we'll give you the final report at the next board meeting in March. Are there any questions about anything in the admin update or anything else any questions about anything, Pat?
Yeah, thanks for bringing it back. Jacob, I always like waiting until, for Christmas to open up my presents, but sometimes I like to shake the box and see what's in it. So with that said, with our bills, what's your temperature on it? Is it are they gonna come out? Have you heard anything? Is anybody opposing it? And should we see it go out and then get to the governor's office?
I'll let
Well,
Steve jump in on this one.
Okay, so both bills passed unanimously out of the Senate, Pat. There were some questions here and there in committee and in caucus, but the vote on the floor of the Senate and the vote in Senate Ways and Means was unanimous. When the bills came over to the House, there were questions, like Jacob mentioned, about 6198, and that bill got amended. But once the amendment was made, the vote in the House Appropriations Committee on Monday was also unanimous. So
Okay.
at this point in time, it's simply a competition to get on the calendar for the House floor.
Okay.
They passed out 60 bills in House Appropriations on Monday, and ours was one of them. So there's intense competition to get that bill scheduled. And then once it's scheduled, it'll have to go over to the Senate for concurrence. But we're already working with senators to be ready to receive it. And again, the Senate passed both bills unanimously, so there's no concern about opposition anywhere at this point in time. It is more just a question of fighting for a spot in line, if you will.
Yeah, I understand that. So that's my major concern. I don't see it being held up other than we're running out of time, but I don't believe once the House sends it back over, I believe it'll probably come out pretty quickly. I don't want to make you guys uncomfortable, but that's usually the way, correct?
Yeah, it's at this point in time, Jacob mentioned, Friday's the deadline to get it off the floor of the House.
Yeah.
So we're going to be very busy for the next 48 hours and working with the stakeholder groups. Kudos to the Ledge team for the State Council of Firefighters and WACOPS for everything that they've been doing to help the board bills throughout this process. And they're helping now.
Yeah, it's amazing. We've got five bills consolidated, and it looks like it's going to be a successful session. So, congratulations on the Ledge team for both WACOPS and State Council, and also for our people too for keeping a handle on it. So, thanks, appreciate it.
Okay. If there are no other questions, we received no comments in advance of today's meeting for distribution to the board. The Left 2 board welcomes public comment in advance of all the meetings and has posted instructions on its website for the submission of written comments. Since there were none, there will be no public testimony at this meeting. That concludes all of the presentations from the team. Does anyone have any final questions or comments before adjournment? No hands. I can't call the meeting to order, and I didn't, and I can't adjourn the meeting, so I won't. But if there is a motion to adjourn from one of the board members, I think.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second, third, fourth, and fifth.
All right. Any of you who would like to, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays, you can stay on and or call me on my cell phone.